Hello and welcome to my Yu-Gi-Oh channel. Make sure to subscribe for more daily Yu-Gi-Oh content. So today we're looking at the normal monsters who are being introduced within Signs of Harpies, the brand new mini-box within Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. FA Sonicmeister is a wind attribute machine type level 4 with 0 attack and 1000 defense. Its effect is it gains attack equal to its level times 300. It cannot be destroyed by battle with an opponent's monster whose original level or rank is lower than this card's level. Each time an FA spell or trap card or effect is activated, you can increase this card's level by 1. If this card is level 7 or higher, it can make up to 2 attacks on monsters during each battle phase. So again, this is another one of those monsters, part of the FA archetype, that has the ability to gain an additional effect if it manages to level up to 7 or above. It starts off as a level 4 with 1200 attack, so it cannot be destroyed by battle or by anything that's a rank 3 or a level 3 or lower, which is fine. And every time you trigger an effect, your opponent triggers an effect, or one of your FA cards goes off, it increases its level by 1, so potentially you can get it to that level 7 as you wish within a turn or two. The ability to attack twice is fine as an effect, but my concern is it's simply on monsters. Whilst that's an okay effect, if your opponent just is fine with you doing that, it's not going to damage them, and you might actually run into a monster that they want destroyed. Potentially something like Blue Eyes support, which just lets them special summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon during their next turn, which is a massive disadvantage that this card has going for it. FA Whip Crosser is a wind attribute machine type level 4 with 0 attack and 1000 defense. Its effect is it gains attack equal to its level times 300. Your opponent must pay 300 life points to activate the effect of a monster whose original level or rank is lower than this card's level. Each time an FA spell or trap card or effect is activated, you can increase this card's level by 1. If this card is level 7 or higher, your opponent cannot discard or send cards from their hand to the graveyard to activate a card effect. So actually this is one of the more versatile cards within the deck, and definitely something you want to be running multiple of. Being able to stop your opponent from doing things often puts them in a position where if they cannot recover then, they've lost immediately. And they will just rage quit from this type of effect. It does start off as a level 4, so rank 3 and level 3 or lower cannot use their effects without your opponent having to pay life points, so that's fine. And again, progressively it will get stronger as effects are activated and your FA spell and trap cards are able to be used as well. When it does get to level 7 or higher, this is where it becomes a nuisance for your opponent. By preventing your opponent from using any sort of discard effect, you think Raigeki Break, there's probably various other iterations of effects that can work but won't under these conditions, and it might mean that they draw into things they just cannot use whilst this card is on the field. FA Turbocharger is a wind attribute machine type level 6 with 0 attack and 1500 defense. Its effect is it gains attack equal to its level times 300. Your opponent's monsters whose original level or rank is lower than this card's level cannot target monsters for attacks except this one. Your opponent cannot target monsters except this one with the effects of monsters whose original level or rank is lower than this card's level. Each time an FA spell or trap card or an effect is activated, you can increase this card's level by 1. If your FA monster battles while you control this level 7 or higher card, your opponent monsters cannot activate their effects until the end of the damage step. What this card does is it makes itself a target for any of your opponent's monster effects or any of their attacks. Whilst this is fine, it does start off as a level 6, that's only 1800 attack for a level 6 monster, a tribute summon monster. There are level 4 monsters, Luster Dragon for example. You've got various other cards. The Cyber Dark Dragons can, if equipped with their other cards, become something like 2500 attack if they're equipped with Hunter Dragon, and can easily just override this card. The condition of when it battles as well is really weak as an effect, and for a level 6 it should be ashamed of itself. Cuban is a light attribute Thunder type level 4 with 600 attack and 1900 defense. The effect, once per turn you can roll a 6-sided die, and while this monster is face up on the field, neither player can normal or special summon monsters with the same level as that result. Okay, so this does have the ability to shut down your opponents from summoning into certain level monsters. My concern are a couple of things. For starters, you have no idea what you're going to roll. You could roll into something that is a level that you need to summon things, and that puts you in a difficult position. Then roll into things that your opponent doesn't like, puts you in a benefit. Or it could be mutually destructive. It could end up dealing with the both of you. Say for level 4 monsters, that puts you in a situation where you can't summon level 4 monsters, which is probably one of the more common levels and the most commonly used levels of any monster. The final disadvantage, have 6 sides. That means level 7 or above can be summoned freely without ever having to deal with the nuisance that is this card. Astro Ghouls is a Earth attribute zombie type level 5 with 0 attack and 2000 defense. The effect is when this card is normal summoned, you can target one level 4 or lower monster in your graveyard, special summon it in defense position, but negate its effects, also banish it during the end phase. Once per turn, you can roll a 6-sided die and the levels of all face-up monsters you currently control become the result until the end of this turn. This is good for Xyz plays and was actually introduced. It was used by Duke Devlin within the Duel Links event. It wasn't actually used when it was back in the anime, so it's a little bit unusual why it's paired other than for the fact that you've got a dice roll effect associated with it. I mean, I don't think he really relies on zombie types. He tends to focus on warriors. But either way, being able to initially normal summon an additional monster from your graveyard means if you use this effect, you trigger it. So, for example, both monsters become a level 5. You can then go into number 63, which is something like Volcasaurus. No, I think that's number 61, for example. And then you can basically get these monsters out a lot easier through this effect. That's why it becomes a level 5 rather than level 4. I think had this just had the level manipulation effect, it would have just been a level 4. The downside is it has no stats to it. I mean, the 2000 defense is fine, but with 0 attack, you really want to exceed summon using this card. Armanite is one of these vanilla type monsters. It's a water attribute aqua level 4 with 1000 attack and 1200 defense. It's an incredibly weak pack filler. I remember it has no place other than just to, add to the numbers. Rio Run is a fire attribute dragon type level 7 with 2200 attack and 2600 defense. The flavor text on it is a vicious little dragon sheltered in an egg that looks deceptively harmless. It's one of these cards that was introduced, I think this was alongside Pegasus support. It was back in the beginnings of Yu-Gi-Oh! During, Duelist Kingdom. But otherwise, for a level 7, the stat lineup is okay, but it's just, it being a vanilla means it's just not going to see any play. Molten Behemoth is a fire attribute pyro type level 5 monster with 1000 attack and 2200 defense. Much like all the other normal monsters, it's just not going to see any play at all. It's just another pack filler. FA Circuit Grand Prix is a field spell with the effect increase the levels of all FA monsters on the field by 2 during the battle phase only. Once per turn, when your FA monster destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can draw 1 card. If this face-up card on the field is destroyed by a card effect, you can add 1 FA card from your deck to your hand, except FA Circuit Grand Prix. You use this effect of FA Circuit Grand Prix once per turn. So I really prefer this as the field spell other than the other one, which seems to be a secret rare for whatever reason. The reason for this is the level stats increase during your battle phase, which is where the FAs need to kind of get their power up. That's an additional 600 points, which can make the difference between, defeating your opponent's monster and not. The additional benefit is every time you do that, once per turn, you're consistently drawing a new card. Think of it like Horn of the Phantom Beasts, but this is specifically for FA archetype rather than for beast types in general. The other thing is it can just be able to search for one of your FA cards, be it a monster, a spell, or a trap, if it ever leaves the field by a card effect. FA Downforce is a quick play spell card with the effect target 1 FA monster you control, increase its level by 2 until the end of this turn. During the main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one FA monster you control, increase its levels by 2 until the end of this turn. You can only use each effect of FA downforce once per turn. This gives your FA monsters a bit of a power boost, gives them an additional 600 attack points. Really good because this can be used both during your turn and if your opponent's stupid enough to try and attack into one of your FA monsters. It also puts them to a level where they might be able to get their secondary ability, which is quite nice if you're able to use it in some niche circumstances. It gains this effect also when you banish it from the graveyard, but that's only during your turn can you use that secondary part of the effect. Level Conversion Lab is a normal trap card with the effect select one monster in your hand and show it to your opponent. Then roll a 6-sided die. If the result is 1, send the selected monster to the graveyard. If the result is 2 to 6, the level of the selected monster becomes equal to the result until the end of this turn. This card is really useful in certain circumstances. If you're trying to summon a level 8 monster that happens to have a powerful effect that you just want to use, you do have the option of getting it down to the point where it just can be normal summoned without tribute summoning. The disadvantage is, if you have a monster that's already, say, a level 5 or a level 6, and that just becomes the result you roll, nothing will have changed. The only thing that's changed is you've revealed that monster to your opponent, say you then just don't want to summon it, or you've also at least lost the activation of this card because you've relied on that dice roll. Fire Darts is a normal trap card with the effect activate only while you have no cards in your hand, roll a 6-sided die 3 times, and inflict damage to your opponent equal to the sum of the die rolls times 100. Right, for starters, it's actually 50 life points they take for each, because the reason is they've halved the burn effect damage as of the Duel Links rulings that happened a couple of months ago. So potentially, okay, you roll the die 3 times. It's say if you're lucky enough to get, the full 18, so you get 666. It's only going to do 900 points of damage rather than 1,800 points of damage. In terms of cards and aspects it can actually synergize with, it could work as part of a strategy with Infernity because they don't like having a hand. You could use it with something like Phantom Hand, that's a good combination for it. But other than that, it is a bit of a forgettable card. Dice Versity is a continuous trap card with the effect once per turn you can target one monster on the field whose current level is different from its original level. Roll a 6-sided die and that monster's level becomes the same as the result. So this card is quite useless simply from the fact that your opponent's monster needs to have had a different level to begin with to even trigger this effect. Had this not been part of the condition, maybe level manipulation might have been effective, but as it is, it can disrupt certain things, but not consistently. Flame Armor Ninja is a fire attribute warrior type level 4 with 1,700 attack and 1,000 defense. The effect is when this card is summoned, you can target one ninja monster you control, increase its level by 1. The whole point of some of these ninjas, I think it's the same with Air Armor Ninja, you've got Earth Armor Ninja, some of these just manipulate levels just so they can go into, I think, either their Blade Armor Ninja or the number 12 Shadow Crimson Armor Ninja. Other than that, really it has no effect to its name, it's not an ability, as soon as it's summoned, it's essentially a vanilla monster with 1,700 attack. Gradius option is a light attribute machine type level 1 with question mark attack and question mark defense. This card cannot be normal summoned or set. This monster can only be special summoned by selecting one face-up Gradius on your side of the field. The attack and defense of this card becomes the same as the attack and defense of the selected Gradius. If the selected Gradius is removed from the field, destroy this card. Okay, so Gradius isn't a powerful card anyway, so pairing the two cards is very useless. It's a weak card to result with, and the consistency relied on trying to get both of these cards out at the same time and getting their effects and abilities to a decent enough attack range to make them usable or as a threat is just not worth using the time. I know this is part of, there's a small archetype of I think they're like spacecraft type cards, which all have different effects, that they have multiple effects as part of them. Some of them are token generating, a couple of them are searching, some of them boost attack stats. So you've got Victory Viper, you've got a couple of other cards as examples, and I think this is one of the original versions. Falcon B is a light attribute machine type level 4 with 1200 attack and 800 defense. If this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, activate one of these effects. You can send one light attribute machine type monster with 1200 or less attack from your deck to your graveyard. Or you can target one light machine monster with 1200 or less attack in your graveyard and special summon that target. Most of these battleship monsters have this kind of stat line up to them and are light attribute and machine type anyway, so they will meet the condition for getting them into the graveyard via a Foolish Burial effect and then being able to special summon with the Call of the Haunted effect. My concern about this is it's an incredibly slow strategy. You would be fine if this had been a spell effect or a trap effect, but as a monster effect, it's just too slow to be consistently relied upon. Lord British Space Fighter is a light attribute machine type level 4 with 1200 attack and 800 defense. The effect: if this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, select and activate one of these effects. You can attack once again in a row, you can select and destroy one set card on the field, or you can special summon one multi-token. It's a machine type light attribute level 4 with 1200 attack and defense. So again, this has multiple effects based on if it actually manages to destroy an opponent's monster by battle. Saying that, I don't think it can really do that without giving it some stat boost to begin with. 1200 is not a good starting point for it. The ability to attack once again in a row is fine because it doesn't have to be on a monster, it can actually be a direct attack as well. If you're in a position where you do this, you can put your opponent on the back foot where they cannot pay for certain cards as costs, or you can actually defeat them within the turn. I've noticed this as I've started using the Battle Wasp archetype a lot more, that if you're able to kind of special summon some of their monsters, there's one that I think it's called Twin Charge, which can attack twice as well. If you can get them down low enough, they kind of give up, and they're pressured to a point where they can't do anything. The secondary ability is fine, but actually your opponent, if they can trigger that set card, they're going to do that if they can, if it's worth their while, rather than rely on, just having their card destroyed for no reason. And the final effect actually just essentially does the same thing as this attacking again in a row, by being able to summon a token. Of course, the nice thing about that token is there's no restrictions on it in terms of it doesn't say it cannot be used as a tribute for a tribute summon, so you could do that during your following turn. So this is Gradius. It's a light attribute machine type level 4 with 1200 attack and 800 defense. It's a vanilla monster. It doesn't have an effect, and this is the card that's supposed to pair with Gradius option. Pretty scary, not particularly frightening, and definitely nothing I would consider, worrying about. Cyclone Laser is an equipped spell card with the effect: you can only equip this card to Gradius, increase the attack of Gradius by 300 points. When the equipped Gradius attacks with an attack that is higher than the defense of a defense position monster, inflict the difference as battle damage to your opponent's life points. Again, another weak card for a very specific target. The fact that it can only be used for Gradius means that in itself is just worthless. The 300 points is nothing. It makes it 1500 piercing effect monster deal. It's not going to do much. And the final card is Dice Knight. This is a continuous trap card with the effect: each time your opponent special summons a monster, roll a 6-sided die and return all of those summoned monsters to the hand with the current level that has the same as the result. So this can punish your opponent if they're running specific archetypes or decks which consistently rely on summoning a certain level. The disadvantage is it doesn't send back the monster that you've summoned with this effect, and it's very niche. Had this been a little bit broader, I could see it being played, but for the time being, it's just another addition to the pack.